I am, oh, my name is Gloria Perot-Dyer, and I am the president, interim president, if you will, um, of the Sacramento branch. Our speaker today is Kymberlie Ingalls. Her topic is Create a Relevant Marketing Plan. Kymberlie describes herself as an author and pioneer in blogging. Now, all of us, of course, are very interested in selling what we write, and this makes marketing a very relevant challenge for all of us. She will be discussing the following: how to build a platform, how to eliminate the noise, how to narrow your focus, how to tackle fear and self-doubt, and how to develop a fluid strategy. Kymberlie is very knowledgeable and accomplished. She is an award-winning essayist, editor, and author of memoir, opinion, and short fiction. Her books, Bridges, A Lifetime in Essay, and 43, compile personal essay, social media, and memoir to address themes of grief, humanity, and the heart. She is a longtime member and serves on many board levels of the California Writers Club. Let's give her a warm welcome. Welcome, Kymberlie.
Thank you all so much for being here today. I'm going to start with a couple of disclaimers. So first, I really appreciate being invited to talk to you guys. It's a great honor. And because that means that somebody knew me and somebody heard something about me and passed that word along. So I'm very grateful for that. A couple of disclaimers. My husband tends to wander sometimes and forget that I'm doing things. So he may wander in here at some point asking me a question, and I'm going to give him that blank stare that you'll all see, and he'll eventually figure it out. And also a cat. And I also have two very young kittens who don't know boundaries. So if they come jumping up here at any point, I apologize if the camera gets knocked over. We are going to have discussions. So at that point, then I'll ask you to unmute and join in. So Gloria gave you my introduction. I did start I'll tell you just a little of my history. I did start in the blogging in the late 90s. And as an example of what our writing can do for us, I was very active online when we had AOL and, all of that, chat rooms and instant messaging and things. I've always loved to talk to people, and doing it from the comfort of my home was even better. So I was doing that, and AOL introduced what was called, in the mid to late 90s, I took that when I really just had a very small mailing list. I had a mailing list for these essays that I had no idea what to do with. I was in my 20s and I didn't know that I wanted to be a writer. So I started using that page to post my essays on. And at one point I was kind of, it was more, I say essays, it was more rambling because I didn't know you could write essays for a living. So I got through this phase where I was kind of fed up with dating. I was single, I was dating, and I was just tired of it. So I wrote this rant about why dating sucked. And at one point, a short time later, so it's up on this, anybody could search it. If anybody saw me online, they would see this. And AOL, much like our current social media, made sure people found you. So anyway, I got an email from somebody who had read it and I guess decided to change my mind. And so here we are 20 years later, we're married, and and it was just, I never in my right mind thought, or they would bring me a husband. So I'm not saying go out and write your best thing and it's going to bring to you love and romance and all of that, but you never know where your writing is going to take you, even when you think that you do. And that alone is a reason to market, to get your work out there. I did join the CWC about, I want to say it's been probably a little over 10 years now. And I was welcomed in at the Berkeley branch. I have since moved around to, I mean, I've lived in the same town my entire life, but I have since joined, I've been a member of 7 branches and the monthly meetings. I've been on several of the boards. I do serve on the NorCal board. I've served with Kymberlie Edwards. I've served on the central board. So, and I'm one of those weird people who actually enjoys that stuff. I enjoy learning the inner workings of our club. And then I got into marketing because again, it's kind of like a puzzle, and I just enjoy figuring out how to make people want something. It doesn't hurt that my husband is also a high-tech marketing, sales and marketing executive. So I've learned a lot of tips from him over the years that I really love to pass on to you guys, and we're going to cover some of that today. And then when I started writing, I was content with my blogs. I have a network of blogs, actually. They haven't been updated in quite a while. I did move on to other projects, but I had at one point, in case you can't tell, my interests, when I do something, I kind of do at large. So at one point, and they're still standing, I've lost count of how many blogs now, but I will say at least 6 or 7 that were active for a while. Each one had a different theme, and that was important to me. Eventually, I did take those and started converting them into books. So my 2 books are compilations of those essays and of my social media posts, for which I share a lot of personal things online. And so all of that compiled into both the books, Bridges and 43. So that's a little bit about me. Like I said, we're going to be kind of interactive as we go. Does everybody have a notebook or paper, scratch paper, or something with you and a pen? Okay, great. I figured being writers, most of you might be prepared. So we're going to do a couple of exercises also, and some we'll share, some are more just for you. But I would, so now this is going to be a time that you'd want to unmute, because I wanted to ask you a couple of questions to get to know you guys a little bit better. You can feel free to chime in. My first question is, what social media do you most frequently use?
Facebook.
Facebook.
Okay, so the majority is Facebook. That's interesting. And why is that? Why do you choose that over all of the others?
I got no response from Twitter.
I use more than the word count for Twitter.
Okay. Dita?
Yeah, Twitter did not work for me. And Instagram also, I felt that I have to learn another new thing. So instead of that, I wanted to focus more on where I was comfortable. And I had quite a few, I had a page, author's page, and just my page. And I have quite a few people who visit that. So, and I joined other groups. So it is something I can maneuver, that's why I feel more comfortable there. And I think I'm learning how to do newsletter also, but I don't know. Thank you.
Okay. How about one more? Why Facebook over the others?
Well, I just went on Facebook initially because that's the one that most of my friends and family were on. And the reason why I haven't gone to any other is because I probably waste too much time on Facebook as it is. So I figure I don't want to waste time on anything else.
That's fair enough. Okay. All right. My next question is, what is your current marketing strategy? Just kind of summed up a little bit. Is it social media? Is it something else? What are, like, say, your top two things that you do?
Social, it's Facebook, because my target audience for my compilation of 86-year-old letters from my maternal grandmother is my first cousins, and they're on my Facebook friends. So I just post snippets from the letters that I'm working on, so that then when I get them all compiled, there's then I can send them emails and say if they want to buy the collection.
Okay.
When I published my book, I did use Facebook. I also used Instagram, but I don't have a lot of followers. In fact, I have a lot of followers on Instagram, and I have no idea who they are. But I also put together a spreadsheet of 40 or so family and friends and just people that I knew and whose email addresses that I had. And I sent a couple of email blasts, BCCing everyone on it. And that seems to have had the biggest response.
Okay.
Jennifer, how did you do it? Just BCC, or are you in a like a MailerLite or MailChimp or something?
Oh, no, I just made an Excel spreadsheet, and then I copied the email addresses in that column into a BCC field on email.
Okay.
Which is also how I communicate with this whole branch of the club. I BCC all of our members and the presidents of all of the branches. That's how I send it out. The thing is, though, I don't know what to do beyond that. I've tried, showing up at conferences, and I think that I've sold all the books I'm going to sell, because all the people on my spreadsheet bought it, and that's it.
Well, hopefully we'll change your mind about that a little before the end of this. And we're going to talk about some of what you just said too. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah.
I'll share. I don't have anything, and that's why I'm here, because I'm trying to figure out what the heck you're supposed to do. The only thing is someone did an interview of me, and so that's got a lot of hits, but that's not me. That's someone else did the interview, so it's got like 56,000 hits. So once I have something, I can, I guess, direct traffic, or I don't know. I basically, all I did was I started up with a web sheet, a web, what do you call it? I've got a website that I'm started. That's all I've done. So I'm just very all ears.
Okay. Well, again, hopefully we're going to get you started before the end of this. Has anyone here, what are your book sales like? Do you sell more print than digital, or the other way around? Has anyone here achieved bestseller status of any sort? Or do you feel that you've sold enough to satisfy yourself?
My problem has been, I don't feel like I have the time that I need to really put the effort that I need to put into marketing. The most books that I have sold, I'd say, was I'd spoken at a couple of events, a couple of them just before COVID hit, and sold a good number of books at those events. But after COVID, it was kind of like everything was slowed down, and I haven't been able to get myself back out there again. I was invited to speak again, but I couldn't make it or whatever. But I think I would benefit by more knowledge about how to utilize the other forms, other ways of contacting people. But I do feel that for myself, if I can get out there and speak more, I could sell more books.
That's very true. So we're also going to go over that. Anyone, one or two more, anyone want to share about their book sales?
Mine are mostly digital.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Linda Champion. I do mainly sales at book fairs, and I've sold about 1,000 books, but I really need to learn more about how to get on something like Facebook, which I'm going to be the last person standing, that has still not really gotten on Facebook. But what I have done is I've done several television interviews, and one of the interviews ended up being put on YouTube, and so that's been helpful. That gives me good publicity, and my husband was included in the interview, so that worked out really well. And I always, anytime somebody asks me for an interview, I always say yes. I'm going to be doing another one for the Cal Expo group.
Okay. So now I want you to take your paper and pen, and I want you to draw a big triangle, as big as you can fit on the page. And then you're going to divide it into 3. Okay. And then that middle section, divide that into 2. And this bottom section, you're going to divide that into 3. So it should look like that or similar. I'm not very good with, evening things out. And I swear this isn't going to be some weird math problem. Okay. And so we're going to take a few minutes. The first thing that I would like you to do is in that top triangle, in that top tier, I would like you to write down in a few words what your goal is with your writing. And this is just for you. Be blunt, be honest with yourself. If you're writing for the fun of it and to share with your family, there's nothing wrong with that. If you are out to make money because you have fun with the writing, or even if you don't and you just want money, nothing wrong with that. If you have, anything in between those two, but write down what your goal is in a few words in that top tier. Okay. And in the middle section where you have the 2 sections, I would like for you to write down 2 measurable goals, something that seems within your reach of achieving that goal that you wrote in the top. And you can also always, finish or add fine touches later. Just kind of go with your instinct for this. Okay. And on that 3rd level, this is where you get to have a little fun. I want you to write 3 fantastical goals, things that maybe you would love to try marketing your book.
Please repeat the assignment for the 3rd tier.
Sure. They're going to be 3 fantastical goals.
Fantastical.
Yes. Okay. Things that you in your wildest dreams would love to try.
Related to writing, you mean?
Yes, related to that goal that you put in the top tier.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I should have said your writing goal in that top. I'm sorry. So now what you should have, and you can continue writing, but you should have, so your writing goal in this top section, 2 measurable goals that are kind of, and then 3 fantastical goals on the bottom. And all of them should feed into this goal up here. Okay, so that's your point. Okay. And I'll just give you 1 more minute to finish that up.
Kymberlie, can you repeat that, please?
Sure. So the top tier is your writing goal. The second tier is 2 measurable goals, 1 in each section. And in the bottom, in each section, 3 fantastical goals that, aren't practical, that aren't anything anybody lectures you about. And I'll tell you a story, a quick story or example of what I mean by fantastical goals. Okay. So I am an idea person. I love coming up with ideas. I'm not so great at the follow through. And for various reasons, but one of the greatest things that I ever saw was so simple. It was a marketing tactic where some young woman wanted to, when we began seeing all of these YouTube influencers and things like that, she wanted to draw attention to her YouTube channel. So she took a packet of Post-it notes, example of marketing. So this woman, she hand wrote her YouTube URL on all of these Post-it notes. She went around town, wherever it was that she lived, and she plastered them on gas pumps. On each one of the nozzles, she just stuck a Post-it on there with her YouTube, and it worked because all of a sudden her channel grew. She started getting, and all it cost her was the cost of these Post-its. Now you have to have time on your hands to be able to do that. You probably need to be a bit younger and more patient and invest that kind of time. But it was just a brilliant stroke of, low cost, creative mind. And it worked, it was probably lightning in a bottle, but it worked for her. And I remember being very impressed with that. So I wouldn't have thought just write on a Post-it and stick it somewhere. But I have since used similar tactics. So when I say fantastical goals, I mean not the ones that we are lecturing you about, the ones that you go, that you travel far and wide to hear about, the ones that come to your monthly meetings and tell you this is the award-winning formula. Those are the measurable goals. Those are the ones that they're going to say, you can do this. The bottom tier is for, if you had a dream of, God, I wish I could just do this and bam, my books would sell. Those are those fantastical goals. So that's what that means. Okay. And here's the purpose to the pyramid. And so I want you to hold on to it. And like I said, you can change it at any time. This is a fluid exercise because you can always draw another pyramid. Okay. But the point of it is, it's to help you eliminate the noise, because again, we hear all of these things that, if you just do this, it's going to work. People will read your book. People will read your blog. They will find your blog. They will, they will find you. But I think a lot of us know that we can follow those formulas to the letter, and it really isn't necessarily going to work for you. I'm not saying that those formulas are complete snake oil. They're not, but what they don't tell us is, and I'll tell you the secret if you just send $9.95, no, I'm kidding. What they don't tell us is to take those formulas in, but adapt them to yourself. And that's where this pyramid should help you. So it's to help you streamline, to help eliminate some of that noise. What you want to do whenever you listen, even when you're listening to me, is you want to learn to distinguish what is relevant to your goal, that goal that you put in that top section. Learn what is relevant to that, because the rest is all just noise. So whatever you don't visualize it like a pile of pebbles, okay, different colors and things like that. And you want to sift through, you want to know these pebbles, the blue pebbles are what are going to help me. The green pebbles, yeah, maybe later on. So I'll just set those over here. The yellow ones, yeah, I have no use for those whatsoever. Okay. So learn how to visualize that and sift through them, and only hold on to what will work for you, what you think is relevant to your project, because otherwise it becomes overwhelming. When we hear, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's kind of like, the old cartoons where all of a sudden all the word balloons are just coming at you. It can be overwhelming. Okay. So this pyramid can change at any time. You can always draw a new one, but put it somewhere, put it at your desk, keep it in your notebook, or, tape it to your bathroom mirror. And, even a goal can change. Your goal may today be, I want to be a bestseller. Tomorrow it could be, I would like to write the best book that I possibly can. The day after that, it could be, I just really want to impress this girl that works at the coffee shop and, show off my book. It could be anything. Okay. So that's the purpose to that exercise. So now I want to talk about the fundamental difference between sales and marketing. Selling is filling a need for a customer, or in our case, for a reader. Okay. And I'm going to use some business terminology when it comes to marketing, but just every time I say customer or client, you insert reader, because that's what it applies for us. But really, in reality, marketing is a business. And that's probably why most of us, not me, but why most writers hate it, because it's not, but they fail to see that the sales are necessary. The marketing, you can be creative with it. So selling is filling the need for the customer or reader and providing a solution. Okay. And so I asked my husband last night, I said, how do you define sales? And he said, if a customer is cold, sell them a jacket. So you're filling that need. Okay. Now, marketing is building awareness of a brand. It's creating interest in a product as opposed to fulfilling the need. So, for example, if a customer is cold, in this case, the customer isn't cold, but you're going to make them want to buy the jacket. Does that make sense? Okay. So those are the fundamental differences. And in marketing comes engaging with customers, especially those who are not a customer or a reader yet. That's a primary goal of marketing. Okay. So engagement really is everything. So if you're shy, you got to practice. I am painfully shy. I've had to practice, and it's still not necessarily easy, but for me, I enjoy the challenge of it. So I can find some benefit there. You have to kind of find your own benefit. So in the case of readers, what is going to make them want to read your story above all else? I'm kind of speaking to having a book. And I don't mean to be dismissive of those who don't have a book yet or are not interested in writing a book. Because, you know, for me, if I didn't have so many essays to compile, I would never have a book. I'm not interested in writing novels. I write short fiction because that's my attention span. And that's where I kind of shine. So your product doesn't have to be a book, but if you're interested in, say your goal is to get a column somewhere, that can be, you know, substitute that for a book. But there, you know, lots of people have columns, lots of people have books, lots of people write essays. So what's going to make them read yours? Okay. So here's another exercise. You can do it on that same page or however you like. Take 2 minutes, and this one we're going to share. Tell us one thing that is unique about your work. Just one thing.
Comes from experience.
Okay. Hold that thought for just 1 second so that others get to write it down too.
Yeah, one thing that is unique in my case is I'm a bilingual writer. So being from 2 cultures, my writing has a unique authenticity, you can say.
Okay, but beyond that, now what's one thing that makes you stand out from other bilingual writers?
Authenticity.
Okay. Okay. Yes. And sorry, I can't see the names because I'm on my tablet, so I apologize. I'm not trying to be impersonal, but I see somebody with a raised hand.
You're
I think
muted.
you're on mute.
My possession of these 100-year-old letters, that is the unique thing, that I have them in my possession.
Okay. And so one step beyond that, because I've seen many books published of old letters or seeing them published on blogs or websites, what makes those letters unique?
Oh, because I combine it with genealogy with the family tree.
Okay.
And that makes it special.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I have worked with people before and after they're dead.
Okay.
Linda's hand is up.
Okay. Yeah, any help with names, Gloria? I would so appreciate that. I apologize.
Okay,
I can't see these names.
Problem.
so may I speak then? Okay. What I have found as I've gone along with my writing that I write original fairy tales, and I have found very, very few people who write original fairy tales. They do redos of existing fairy tales, the classics, but very few that write original. I mean, I've been searching. I would love to have someone to share thoughts about fairy tales with, but I have to date not found one person who write original fairy tales. So I think one of the things that I utilize in my sales approach is the fact that they are original stories, fairy tales.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Okay, couple more.
Pam's hand is up. You're muted, Pam.
Okay. My work includes morals and ethics for children to use in decision making.
Okay.
Okay, good. For myself, I would say that one thing unique about my writing is that I write from the experience of having grown up in the only town in California, because there are several, there are a number of them around the country. The only town that was originally established by Black people in the state of California, which is now part of the California State Park System. So I can write from the experience of having grown up there.
Okay. Okay. One more.
Well, I can say I love that idea of the original fairy tales. That's the kind of thing I'd like to do. I wrote down that I see my writing as an experiment in opening up style to deeper imagination and larger insights. I see myself as an experimental writer.
Okay. All right. So in doing that, really enticing the public to read your work isn't much different than querying agents or publishers. Show of hands, how many have done that? How many of you have queried? Okay. See, you all have me beat. Okay, so you know that you're trying to lure them to you. It's the same with your readers. You want to lure them to your work. Okay. So let's go over some popular sites for marketing. There are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Goodreads, and Amazon and Google Ads. Those are just the ones, they're most common, okay? 10 years ago, we were telling you to go and spread yourself over all of those and, try to use platforms that will post. If you post to one, it will post to all and do this and do that. And over the years, we've learned that not only were we burning ourselves out, but it wasn't effective because it just isn't. You can go out to the garden, you can throw out a handful of seeds and you might get lucky. And you could throw out tons and tons of seeds and put a lot of work into it, but you're still probably going to just get lucky, as opposed to actually taking the time to, I'm going to use a gardening analogy, and I'm not even a gardener, but to, properly digging into the ground and planting those seeds and nurturing them to grow. Okay, so there's a big difference. So at the beginning, when I asked you what platform or what social media you use, most of you came with just the one answer. And when I asked you why, why that one works for you. So, choose one, maybe two. The ads are slightly different, but if you find that they work for you, that they're considered a form of social media. But something like that, those are the ones that require money. So if that's what you want for your strategy, keep doing that, but pay attention to it because you don't want to just throw your money away. Most of these wouldn't be relevant to us unless, again, you're kind of sadistic like me and you want to follow these challenges. So things like TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, those are for people who do want to experiment with the marketing. But Facebook is the most friendly toward authors, let me take that back, because when Gloria first came to me and asked me to talk to you guys, she did ask if I would talk about Facebook marketing. Facebook has actually become quite difficult in how they want to help anybody with marketing anything. That's kind of a whole other thing on its own. And I would be happy to answer that question if you wanted by email or something like that. So we're not taking up all of this time, but there are algorithms. I'm sure you've all heard the word algorithm and have a sense of what it is. It has made it impossible. So Facebook, while is somewhat friendly if you have already established at this point a base, If you're trying to go into it new, I would not recommend it. Same with blogging. If you're going to try to start a new blog, do it because you want to start a new blog, not necessarily to sell books, because you would now be one in, I think in the US, the last statistic I heard was there were over 150 million blogs just in the US. And trying to rise to the top of that would take really a lot of effort. So for where most of us are right now, Facebook and Twitter are if you've been at it for a while and you already have developed some sort of a following, then continue with those. Instagram if you can figure it out, and if you have kids or grandkids who are, really good at this stuff, have them help you, because Instagram is great for that, because you can put covers, you can create a meme with your book cover. It's not hard. We're not going to get into the instruction of that today, but there are tutorials online, video and written. And but even if it's just as simple as posting a picture of your book cover, that goes great with Instagram. You can also, if you can learn to make a simple meme, which is just words on a colored background, then take a quote from your book, just 1 or 2 lines, and post, just, put that on a colored background, and you can post that as a meme on your Instagram. So that's just a couple of ideas of what to do with those. TikTok is a whole other thing. Goodreads is also one of the top 3. Does anyone here have a Goodreads? Okay, so yeah, that's kind of if you are a more established author at this point, Goodreads is good for giveaways, for book giveaways. That always gets interest, for a contest if you want to do that. And it's a good place. You kind of need a thick skin for Goodreads, because people can, I think when I created mine, people were able to leave comments and reviews and things like that. So, and I could be misspeaking, but so some of the things that I saw on there, you have to have a little bit of a thick skin to be able to, it's same as Amazon reviews, right? So anyway, so those are some of the popular sites. If you haven't done, if you're not established yet, look up just 1 or 2 of those and see what's going to fit best for you. Okay. And that will be on the handout. So if you didn't catch all of those names, don't worry about that. Okay. So now, and one more question. What fear or vulnerability holds you back from putting your work out there as much as you would like? If a couple of people want to answer.
Never quite sure if my work is ready yet.
Okay.
Invasion of privacy.
Mm-hmm. That's valid. One more.
My passion is short stories, memoirs. I've done it with all the grade levels as a retired teacher, and just getting up the impetus to keep going.
Okay. Those are all valid. Those are all, and so, so that's also something to develop, is finding what you are confident about, and trying to let that overshadow the negativity. Okay. Because it does take, you are putting yourself out there. It's not just your book or your work. It is you as the author as well. Okay. So another way, another thing you can do is find the authors, who are the author, or you can just make a note of the authors that you like to follow. Okay. Do you follow their social media? Do you, are you a frequent visitor to their website? Do you subscribe to their newsletter? But make a note of those that you follow, and then analyze and strategize, which is look at a few of those. And if you don't have anyone that you follow closely, just pick out a couple of well-known authors that you know by name, or ask friends who they follow and why, because you want to know why people follow them. Why do you follow them? And you can kind of look at the things that they do, like, are they on Facebook all of the time? Or are they, do they post regularly and update to their blog? Do they send a newsletter every month or every week? Whatever it is they do, consider doing that yourself. You're not exactly copying. They're all tried and true things, okay? But so emulate that. I shouldn't say copy, emulate that, okay? And okay, so now we're going to go over platform quickly. And I apologize because I'm running a little behind. I did want to get to questions, but so here are elements of we've all heard the word platform. Everybody, you kind of know what that is. Okay, so elements of a platform: readers, social media, mailing list, and showing up to be present. Okay, so of those, which one do you think holds the most value in your platform? Just go ahead and shout it out.
Email list, I think.
Okay.
Readers.
Mailing list.
Okay.
Showing up to be present, does that?
Bingo.
Yeah.
That is the most valuable. Email list is second. They are the most direct line that you have to your readership. Social media is actually only 10%. And I get that statistic from Brooke Warner. If you've heard of her from She Writes Press, she's very skilled in marketing. And she had put together a pie chart. And I myself was really shocked to learn that. And that statistic, that was years ago, but it really hasn't changed. But showing up and being present is the number one thing. And at the beginning, somebody mentioned you've shown up to conferences and things like that. It's hard and it's trying. It's, having to take time. And, a lot of us are at an age where maybe we're not quite that hungry, but yeah, I know for me, as I get older, I have more physical challenges, and it gets really hard to show up to the conferences, to the festivals, to the events, to all of the monthly meetings. And so again, streamline, sort through those pebbles and choose what have been the most effective, or what is the most appealing to you. Okay, so if you think, if I could get a table at a wine festival, and you think that's the most appealing to you, do that. Try it. Last year, I registered at my first vendor fair, and it was interesting. I think that I might try it again. It's not conventional. There were a few booksellers there, but most of it was arts and crafts. And I was also there for that, to sell some of that. So anyway, but showing up, meeting people, carry your card with you. When you're selling your book, the bookmarks are great, but you should all have a business card. They're super easy to get now, super easy to design, or you can have them do it for you. And that doesn't cost that much, but have your information on one side, your favorite book cover on the other side, something along those lines, but make sure it includes the pertinent info, which is who you are and where to find you. Okay. And have those at the ready all the time. And because you never know who you're going to meet. And I'm going to give you a quick story of, because about being prepared, which is going to be in a list here we're going to go over next, which is I went and I met Delia Ephron. Her sister is Nora Ephron. They are both screenwriters and essayists and memoirists. And Nora had just passed away. She's the writer of When Harry Met Sally and some other movies. And she and Delia they both had this kind of a cantankerous relationship. And Delia wrote a memoir of that relationship between the two sisters. So I was thrilled to meet her. I go, I'm prepared. I had my card. I had her copy of her book. I asked her if she would sign it. And one of my little tricks is, because of the unusual spelling of my name, is that I will hand somebody my card and say, this is how you spell my name for when you're signing whatever. And because you never know if they're going to keep the card or not. And in passing, I said, by the way, if you ever want to visit, my site, blah, blah. Never thought a word about it for 6 months later. And at the time I was going through a really challenging phase in my writing. I was being very honest and emotional and raw, and all of that was up on my blog, so my main blog site. 6 months later, she comes off that book tour, and I had forgotten all about that incident. And I get a Facebook message saying, I would love to take a look at your site. I'll do that as soon as I'm settled back in. And I thought, oh crap, what is on that first page? Because it's probably some rambling, long, emotional spillage, so always be prepared. Okay, so now we're gonna wrap up with how to move forward from here. Okay, accountability is a big thing. Find yourself an accountability partner or join a group. I've created 2 accountability groups at different branches of the club. Somebody to check in with, and you can motivate each other without nagging each other, unless you both like that, and then go for it. But somebody that you can work well with, that you feel comfortable with. It doesn't have to be your best friend, but somebody that you can check in with. And you can even do that publicly through your social media or on your blog. You can say, this week I feel like I want to do this, and then come back the next week and post or share on the blog, I did this. Or be honest, if you didn't, say, well, I got distracted by all of this, but I'm going to try it again, or I'm going to move on to another goal. And but hold yourself accountable. Find a way to do that. Okay. Keep a casual eye on trends, because they do change and they are important. Every January, or actually about December, I go and I type in whatever the coming year is. So 2022 book marketing trends. And I look at what's changed. You can find some really great articles that will come up. Just make sure that they're current. And they'll tell you kind of what is on the forecast for the following year. Okay. Be prepared for opportunity. And in that, if you don't have a website, you should have at the very least a basic one. It doesn't necessarily need to be maintained all the time, but something standalone that gets the attention of people that you would need attention from. On there, you should have an author package. You should also keep it in a file on your computer and as an email that you can forward at any time, in case you get an invitation to something and or something comes up right away. It should contain your headshot. You should have 3 different bios, and you can work on those on your own time, but you should always have 3 bios of various lengths. A small would be 75 words, a medium is 150 words, and a long is 300 words, because different venues will ask for different length bios. Okay. So you should have those prepared and ready to go, so you don't have to stress about it every time somebody asks you for your bio. You should also have your credentials and a digital image of each of your book covers. And all of that should be contained in a file or attached to one email or up on your website, so that you can just immediately send out a link to that page. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
One of the things brought up earlier about what holds people back is fear of privacy. And I think this very meeting is a great example of being bombed by somebody who just has malintent. So, I think that's a really good question. Have you anything to say about that?
Privacy is, you need to find your comfort level. Okay. We all think that on social media that you have to share every deep, dark secret, or, go to the other extreme where your posts are so boring that nobody cares. Nobody's invested because there's no emotion there. You need to find your own comfort level. Myself, I've had serious privacy issues over 30 years of being in some form of the public. And I've wrestled with it a whole lot. And at some point, I finally decided that it's the nature of my work. I'm one of the fools. I have no secrets anymore. Somebody in the world knows at least one thing about me at all times. I have nothing left that is a secret to me. I'm okay with that most days, but you have to find what strikes the balance for you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. You're saying you need to take some risk and just be prepared to mitigate it along the way.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great way to sum it up. I should write that down.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you. About what you might mean by credentials. So, for example, my book deals with a homeless foster teen, and she happens to be Black. And my credentials, are my credentials that I have a degree in biology, that I've had various careers in different professions, or are my credentials that I come from a family with a lot of nieces and nephews and great nieces and great nephews that were adopted out of the foster system and are multiracial? What are my credentials?
Your credentials would be your educations, if you have degrees, if you have certifications, if you have working knowledge of a particular aspect in your writing. The other is more your background. So credentials would be more official things.
In my case, I really wouldn't have any credentials because my degree was in biology, which has nothing to do with what I wrote. Okay, thank you.
Can I just mention, I have credentials and degrees and a long history of teaching, but I have to write under a pen name because people ask me, are you related to Quentin Tarantino? Come on, I don't know him. I don't know the history, and I don't even like history. I'm sorry about that. But on the other hand,
it's up to you whether you want to list those credentials. I doubt that anybody would be out there looking for your pen name linked to those. But you would have to make that decision whether to kind of, vaguely list those or just not list them at all. If they're not relevant to your writing, I wouldn't even worry about it.
Thank you.
Hi, that brings me to my question, what's related to the privacy issue with a pen name. You still do some of these, this is what's going on in my life, and these are people in my life, to correspond with what's going on the back of the jacket cover, or the flap of the jacket cover. How much leeway do you have with making things up with the pen name?
Are you asking me or the one with the experience?
I'm asking you, I guess.
Okay. So I had a friend who he kind of kept he was moderately successful with his series, Magical Realism. But he had a family and he worked pretty hard at keeping them. He would incorporate his boys into how he was inspired to write these stories, but he was pretty good at keeping he used his real name, but when it came to trying to draw people in, he got very creative. Instead of writing his own thoughts on his Facebook and Twitter, he would conduct interviews with his characters. And that became the focus. So he drew people in that way. So he didn't have to say, well, I'm going through this right now, or I'm mad at my editor right now, you know, those kind of things that maybe we get personal and talk about. So if you really want to keep yourself private, whether using your real name or a pen name, then you have to be a little bit more creative in what you're putting out there to the world to draw people in through your newsletter or through, you know, anything like that. But find ways that don't focus so much on you, but focuses more on the work.
Okay, because thank you. So I mean, I also have you Google my name, you get things that I did, you know, as a public employee, or as some things come up as me volunteering, which is going to have nothing to do with any of my writing.
Right.
So unless
that's a good reason to maybe consider a pen name if you really want to keep those separate.
Thank you.
Any other question? I know we're over, so, and I was done with that presentation.
I have a question related to what Jennifer was saying about the credentials, because the world now, we judge people differently. And I understand the credentials as being, you know, your professional schooling and whatever, but then who's to say, someone say, how dare you write about a Black child in the foster system when you're not a Black child in the foster system? And so her background seems to justify her, or give her, maybe not called credentials, but gives her the right to actually examine that with a good mind, good, clear head. Just my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's a good observation. I mean, you know, I tend to find myself, I used to, because I had an opinion blog. So, and it's my most popular one. And I have right at the top, I do not necessarily know what I'm talking about. I would blog on hot topics or current affairs, but not really politics a whole lot. But I have right at the top, I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about. You know, this is just me mouthing off. This is my space to mouth off, but I don't do that as often because frankly, my husband has a career and I don't want, even though we kind of use different last names, but anything I say can come back on him. And you're right, we're in such a hot button climate, and sometimes you do need those credentials to back something up, or you need to prove yourself. And that does sometimes make the work a lot harder, especially in nonfiction. So it's a good observation. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I really, I appreciate this opportunity to come and talk to you guys. I hope that I didn't overwhelm you. I hope that I helped you kind of come up with a couple of solid ideas. And just please remember, if you take anything away from this, it is know your goal and filter out the noise. Okay. And learn how to do that if you struggle with that sort of thing. Those are the two most important takeaways. And I will have this handout ready probably by the end of today. I will give you my email address if you'd like to email me directly, or again, I can send it to Gloria and you can get it from her. So my email is Kymberlie, KYMBERLIE at rainfallpress.com. So one word, rainfallpress.com.
And
if you have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. In speaking of noise, I apologize that I was not able to immediately get rid of our bomber, and
wasn't your fault.
Ivan has left, but I really want to thank him. Now I know next time what to do. Sorry.
Yeah, and now I'm glad I could help with the learning experience of it. It definitely kept us on our toes. So and
very well handled, by the way. You know,
yes,
I'm in awe.
did.
Very well.
At first I thought he was one of us, but I thought, how rude, he had his potato chips.
Yeah,
and he
the
looked
potato
so weird.
chips
I
was
thought
kind
it
of
was
getting
one of
to
us.
me. But
Oh, wow.
if you have any follow-up questions too, please email me. I'm happy to help if I'm able to. If I can't, then I would be, if I'm able to send you somewhere to get the answers, then I'll be happy to do that as well.
Okay. Well, Kymberlie, I want to thank you for a splendid presentation with lots of extremely relevant and useful information. Let's give her a hand, folks.
Thank you.
Yay.
And I want to thank all of you for coming. This has been a delight.
My apologies. Kymberlie, is your website on the information that we have?
It will be, yes.
Thank you.
But I also have to say my websites are woefully out of date. So you probably won't see a whole lot if you go to those. I need to practice what I'm preaching to you. My priorities have shifted the last few years, health issues and things like that. And I created a charity. So my efforts have been going more toward that and actually marketing that. So, but yeah, I will include that information.